Alright, this is lesson 31, graphing a linear equation using slope-intercept form. So, we've been talking a lot about functions, how we input numbers into functions, and we get an output, right? It's like a math machine. You get a number into the math machine, and then like a number comes out, right? Does that make sense? And then we talked about three-part tables last week, and we actually started graphing last week without without really seeing any shortcuts. We used a three-part graph, kind of looks like this, where we had x here, and then we had xy here, which included our output, and then we had a rule. Let's say it was like y is equal to 3x plus 2, right? And we plugged in our ingredients last week that we always picked were what, three numbers? 2, 0, -2. Good. So -2, 0, and 2, right? And we plugged them in, and we got output, and we had, various coordinates, right, on the right, and then we plotted these on the graph. Remember doing this? This is a lot of work, though, right? So yesterday we talked about how we identified a y-intercept and the slope. We've learned about those things. So there's actually a faster way to do this. So we're going to do that today. And we're going to think about what we did yesterday, but we're going to think backwards, okay? So looking at our steps, here they are. We're going to figure out if the equations is in slope-intercept form. We're going to figure out our y-intercept, our slope, plot them, and then use a straight edge to graph, okay? So watch me do numbers 1 and 2, okay? So yesterday we followed a form of y is equal to mx plus b, okay? And we want to make sure all our equations look like that. So on number 1, I could see y's are in the right place. I could see that there's an m in the right place. The x's are in the right place, in the right place right here. Okay, so since that's the case, we just have to identify what they are. So let's start with our b. Our b is in the right place, so it's 4. So b is equal to 4. And our slope is right in front of the x, which is 2. So our m is equal to 2. Okay? And I can make it a fraction by making it 2 over 1. Okay? So since I have those pieces of information, I'm good to go. So I go to my y-axis, and I go to my y-intercept, okay? So I start from the origin, and I go to my y-intercept of 4. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to plot a point here, okay? Okay, make sense so far? So then I look at my slope. My slope is 2 over 1, which means I rise 2 and run 1. So from this point, I'm going to rise 2, run 1. So I'm going to have a point here. And at this point, I'm imagining that my line is going to look like this because it's always a straight line, okay? So that means there should be a point someplace around the opposite way, right? So instead of rising 2, I'm going to rise the opposite way, which is negative, and I'm going to run the opposite way. And I'm going to plot a point here also. And I'm going to keep doing that across my paper, making points across. Once I have a few points, I'm going to take my ruler, or you can use your ID card or something, and you're going to draw a line through those points, and then draw arrows at the end, and that's it. And what this is telling me now, this is a graph now of numbers. So let's remember our ingredients, -2, 1, and 0. If I were to put my ingredient of -2 in here, what would my y be? What's the coordinate here? Well, it's -2, 0, right? This coordinate. So what this is saying is if I put the ingredient of -2, what's the output going to be into this math machine or function? 0, right? You following me? Or if I put this ingredient in, let's say I put this one in. This one says x is 0. So this coordinate is 0 and 4, right? What this is saying is that if I put the ingredient 0 into my equation, what output do I get? What's the product I get out? 4, right? Does that make sense? So this is a faster way to look at it. What happens if I could put any number in. But what about -3, okay? Well, if I put in -3, I got this point right here. Well, what's this point? This is -3, -2. So, -3, -2. If I put -3 into my math machine or function, what's my output? Y'all see that? Isn't this faster than doing that big table? Yeah, it's a lot faster, okay? Watch me do number 2 now. Number 2, it looks like there's a scary fraction, right? Did we like using fractions in our table? No, we didn't. They're kind of hard to deal with, right? So this is a faster way to do it. So the first thing I'm doing, again, is eyes up here, eyes on the board. Students in front, eyes up on the board, please. Y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, it's in that form, so I know that my m is going to be 1/2. B is 4 again. So I go on my y-axis, I'm finding 4. going up 1, 2, 3, 4 from the center or the origin. Okay, and we said that the slope is 1/2, so I rise 1, run 2. So I'm going to rise 1, run 2. That's going to be a point here. Rise 1, run 2. So on this graph I ran out of space, but it looks like my graph is going this way, right? So I want to keep going. I'm going to go the opposite way. Rise -1, run -2. There should be a point here. Rise -1, run -2. Point here, right? I have enough points to go across my whole paper, so now I'm going to take my straight edge, which on here it's just a line, but on your paper, use your ID card or a ruler. Draw some arrows at the end, and then you're done, okay? And this is a quick way to make my table. So what happens if I put -4 as my ingredient? What's my output going to be if I put -4 in? 2, right? You see how quick that is? Or let's say I put +4. What's my output going to be? 6, right? See, isn't that easier? Yeah, it's way easier, okay? So we use graphs in math to make calculations easier, okay? And it helps us see things quickly. Okay, and this is the fastest way to graph a line. Okay, y-intercept, slope, and you're done. Draw a line. Okay, raise your hand if you've seen this before, by the way. Okay, good. Okay, so this should be pretty easy for most of you. What I'd like you to do is 1 solid 2 is about number 2 today, and then 2 solid 1 is about number 1. Ready, set, talk. Okay, so we're doing number 3 now. Number 3, y is equal to 1/2 x plus 1. Okay, let's write the slope-intercept form because we need to make sure it's in that correct form before we start. Y is equal to mx plus b. Is it in the correct form, everyone?
Yes.
Good. What is your b?
3. Oh, 1.
1. What is your m, or slope? 1/2. Okay. What does the 1 represent? Rise or run? Good. What does the 2 represent? Good. Okay, so we're all doing this together. Get some graph paper going. The good one you should get is graph axes. That's the best one, I think, instead of you having to waste time making the axes. Okay, here we go. You're going to plot the y-intercept first, okay? So looking at the b, we're going to plot that first on our y. Go to 1, plot a point. Everyone's plotting a point, okay? Okay, what's our rise over run? Good, so we're rising 1, running 2. Rise 1, run 2. Do it again. Rise 1, run 2. Again, rise 1, run 2. And you're done. Okay? We're out of space. What should I do now to get some more points? Yeah, we want to go the opposite way, right? So I want to get some sort of point around here someplace, right? So rise the opposite way 1, run the opposite way 2. Okay? I'll do that one more time. And I could do that across my paper if I wanted to. Then, if I was on a piece of paper, I'd take a straight edge, but you could use the line function on your iPad, okay? Draw a line and graph it. I want to see yours, okay? Yours this is all about constructing a graph, so we need to make sure you got this, okay? I'll give you a moment. 30 seconds and you're going to show me your answers. Okay, number 4 now. We got y is equal to -2x minus 5, okay? So let's have you do this one by yourself, but before we do that, let's figure out what our slope and y-intercept are. What's the slope on this one? Slope is what? -2. How do I make that a fraction? -2 over 1. And this is a positive 1, by the way. So it's -2 over positive 1. And our slope is 5. 5? No, -5, right? Oh, by the way, when we have a negative slope, which way should your line be slanting? Should it be going uphill or downhill? Okay, good. So that's a hint, okay? So yours shouldn't slope the same way as number 3, okay? I'll give you about a minute to do that. Ready? Go. We should have a y-intercept of -5, so you should be way down here, right? And your slope is -2 over 1. Now, on this particular problem, I can't really go down -2. I can't go -2 and up over 1. So I have to go the opposite way. So I'm going to rise the opposite way and run the opposite way. Plot my points. And this is a pretty steep slope. when I go the opposite way. Okay, and that's it on graphing this line, okay? Yours should look like mine. Some of yours didn't look as steep as it should be. Okay, some of you have made mistakes. So some of you may have rose only 1 and ran 2. You went the opposite way. So I don't think that looks correct. Okay, yours should look like this. Okay, did y'all see that? It's slanting the right way. You rose only 1 and ran 2. You see that? Okay, let's try the next one. Number 5. What's the slope on number 5? Is there a slope on 5? Yes or no? No. So think about yesterday when we had no slope. What does that really mean? 0 slope, right? So this is really like saying y is equal to 0x plus 5. Okay, can you graph that for me? Remember, a flat slope is or a 0 slope is like a flat slope. There's no uphill or. So if number 5 looks like a flat line that goes through 5, what's number 6 going to look like? Is it going to have a flat slope also? No, remember yesterday, what kind of slope did this kind have? Undefined. Yeah, undefined. Show me on your. There is no slope. It's undefined, really. Okay, show me, please. Here, you're not supposed to focus on the y-axis. You're supposed to focus on the x-axis. When I say -1, are you supposed to put a dot here and just put it through here?
No.
No, because you're just doing x is equal to 0. How about -1 here on the x-axis? Look up here. There's a few of you that made this mistake. Oh. Okay, -1, right? With a line going, or with arrows at the end of each point of the line. Okay, does this make sense? Yes? Okay, that's all you're doing today is graphing, okay? And this just reveals what our answers are, okay? Alright, so what I'd like you to do is turn off your iPads, clean up what you've done. This ends our lesson.